58. Be solvent. Neither borrow nor lend, because you will lose both money and friend in this way. A small loan makes debtor and a big loan makes an enemy. If you help a man lending him some money, and if he is a good man, he will feel himself as your debtor even after repaying the loan. Habit of borrowing is the symptom of the worst poverty. Borrowing is not better than beggings. Those who are self-respectful never borrow. Don't keep the leftover of loan, fire or disease. If you keep the leftover, it will again increase. He dies who repays all his loans. Lending and repayment of loan are the real savings. Cash today, credit tomorrow, goodbye credit, to you. Don't lend money to anybody, because you will lose a friend if you lend him money. A borrower normally kills time by promising to repay the loan. People can borrow but can't repay. We can criticize others very well, but we can't tolerate criticism of others. People borrow money very politely but becomes ferocious when you force them to repay. Build a house, not a cottage. Lend, better don't ask for repayment for lend money. A man who does not borrow lives in peace. But if a borrower intends to repay the loan, Allah arranges for it. Otherwise he will spoil his life. To avoid borrowing and anxiety, a good plan is required. Make a budget, curtail your expenditure and increase your income. Make yearly family budget, save 1/5 of your income. In this way, your savings will gradually increase and you will be able to face your odd days as well. Make payments and repayments of loans in presence of a suitable witness and write down place, time, amount, etc. in details. Not giving a promised thing is as good as not repaying a loan. Don't borrow without arrangement of repaying it. It is better to go to bed at night with hunger than to rise in the morning with the burden of loan. It is better to live a simple life without borrowing. Time will pass if you starve, but if you borrow, you will be a debtor. The subject of moneylenders in the new form of microcredit has appeared. Now it is a very common phenomenon to buy crops and labor in advance. They repay the installment money by selling labor or borrowing from others. Classification of microcredit: traditional informal microcredit, such as moneylenders credit, pawnshops, loans from friends and relatives, consumer credit, informal market, etc. Activity-based microcredit through conventional or specialized banks such as agricultural credit, livestock credit, fisheries credit, handloom credit, etc. Cooperative microcredit, cooperative credit, credit union, savings and loan associations, savings banks, etc. Consumer microcredit, specialized banks, go or partnership-based microcredit. General features: credit art promotes credit as a human right. Its mission is to help the poor families to help themselves to overcome poverty. It is offered for creating self-employment for income-generating activities and housing for the poor, as opposed to consumption. In order to obtain loans, a borrower must join a group of borrowers. All loans are to be paid back in installments, weekly or bi-weekly. It comes with both obligatory and voluntary savings programs for the borrowers. It gives high priority on building social capital. It is promoted through formation of groups and centers, developing leadership quality through annual election of group and center leaders, electing board members when the institution is owned by the borrowers. To develop a social agenda owned by the borrowers. It undertakes a process of intensive discussion among the borrowers and encourage them to take these decisions seriously and implement them. It gives special emphasis on the formation of human capital and concern for protecting environment. Loan repaying process: time 1 year, weekly installment of equal size, interest rate 15%. Investment money should be invested in such heads where from instant earnings can be obtained by least investment. For example, arrangement for earnings have to repay at least 100/take per week for a loan receiver from a group of 5. The ability to repay the loan little by little reduces anxiety, and strengthens mental pure inspiration and self-confidence. Decision with unity, cooperation, discipline, courage, labor and joint venture enterprise for socio-economic environment development to generate new incomes opportunity, and moderating with expenditure minimizing. Against the uncollected loan savings, the recoverable loan and interest is 75% of balance in the first year and 100% in the second year has to be saved, in the third year it has to be abolished. Along with the increasing of economic capability of the loan receiver, the amount of loan should be increased in proportion to the investment. Having deposited 10% in the emergency fund, each week installment of the loan receiver is to be repaid. Otherwise other members will repay the equal installment of loan, in proportionate, and searching the causes for not repaying the installment and will determine its remedy. This will reduce misunderstanding and increase responsibility. At the same time, taking preparation of new loan, strong deposit scheme, self-reliance, joint financial management and above all experience is gained. Cooperative bank encourages investment through deposit and sanction of loan. Rather cash paid profit, production element, accelerated production. Investment of elements of production instead of one-time huge money for paying off price is cheap in the real sense. Its main target is to perform betterment through meeting the demand, so through statistics of data and information and its analysis, the monitoring and feedback are justified. The regular information of the socio-economic condition of men, entrepreneurship and their evaluation is necessary and important. Every group maintains a savings fund called group fund. Every member has to deposit Tk10 a week in the fund. The loans taken from the community have to be repaid in weekly installments within 1 year. The money has to be invested in the productive sector specified within 1 week from loan disbursement. It is illegal to use the borrowed money for any other purpose. All materials or assets procured by the borrowed money are considered property of the community until the loan is refunded. Entirely the transaction depends on the regularity of every member in attending the weekly meetings, discipline, and timely repayment of loan installments. Members of a group can fine any fellow member for indisciplined activities, such as not attending in weekly meetings, irregular installment payment, and failure to deposit money in the group fund. The money exacted in fines is deposited in the group coordination fund. Member of a group can be expelled for anti-disciplinary activities by unanimous decision of the rest of the members. This can ensure its profit by exploiting the rural manpower resources. By utilizing the loans in productive activities they can upgrade income, or makes way for improving some of their status in the family. 3 C's of credit character means how a person has handled past debt obligations from credit history and personal background. Honesty and reliability of the borrower to pay credit debts is determined. Capacity means how much debt a borrower can comfortably handle. Income streams are analyzed and any legal obligations looked into which could interfere in repayment. Capital means current available assets of the borrower, such as real estate savings or investment that could be used to repay debt if income should be unavailable. Lending money alone cannot help rural poor come out of the poverty trap. Otherwise, lending will just unkind the rural poor in a vicious cycle of debt. They need life security, institutional financing and marketing mechanisms of their products with training and monitoring, and they need access to utilities, infrastructures and justice. Only then borrowed money, whatever small it may be, can create a sustainable source of income. Not poverty, rather inequity in distribution remains as the main problem. They need widely consulted before budget preparation, and many of their demands are incorporated in the tax policy. Rural credit market itself is not likely to be a powerful enough engine for non-farm growth and poverty reduction. Programs like small business, livestock, crop production and food processing are ongoing. However, there is no physical mechanism to make sure that the borrowers use the money exactly for what it was meant for. In most cases, the money is not spent in productive sector. Giving credit alone does not make the poor self-employed. Assistance provider should go to men. Field workers used to visit house to house, reach the money at hand and take care at the every step of the investment, so it worked. Microfinance program is as microcolonization. Money without monitoring or training without money is just wastage. By depositing daily amount of money, and considering who needs, what needs and what amount, it is possible to eradicate financial poverty by distributing loan. It should be noticed that loan money should not be spent in any field other than the target work. Almost everybody suffers from a nostalgia, dreams that he will be solvent, which is only an utopian imagination. God has gives us such a small and shorn piece of cloth that cannot cover our whole body. If you want to drive away poverty, your wealth will go away, and if wealth goes away, it goes away for unlimited increase of beauty of the society. Only those who are not poor teaches to accept poverty as a symbol of sacrifice, and they who are responsible for creating poverty. Nobody born is poor, but the environment and the social system make him poor. Who is actually poor? He is poor who is to work against his will. The bitterest things is to obey the hard rules and poverty. So long poverty and slavery will continue, the life cannot be supposed to be safe. So long there is civilization, there is poverty along with help. The more restrictions and obstruction will increase, the more poverty will increase. A poor man does not have any principle, ideology or morality. He who has less is not poor, but he is poor who hopes for much. A poor man does not bother for society, religion, principles of life and so on. Their only identity is that they have nothing. Poverty perishes many genius future in the bud. The sufferings of poverty insist a poor to commit any misdeed. Everybody knows that the crimes occurred due to poverty cannot be stopped by punishment, but punishment here acts as a revengeful action only. Even some amount of food of the poor people are being snatched day by day with the help of law. Poverty and sin goes parallel. Poverty sometimes makes a great wise man even mum in front of his rival. The cruel poverty ends up the total brightness of a man within a moment. He who bows down his head to poverty, is having no personality at all. A man without wealth is neglected by his closest ones. Members of a family do not take care of the person who is unable to bear the expenses of his family. In this world, everybody obeys him who can provide food. A poor man is not accepted by his relatives. The cries of a poor man is meaningless. Those who are conservative, are always engaged in acquiring money and power. Fools and poors toil but get nothing in cash and keep hoping something in future. They end up with the anxieties for their old age, poverty, inability and life like a beggar. Peasants, laborers, workers, coachmen, blacksmiths, mechanics, without whom a state does not run, they spend their lives in vain for others, at last die in their old age with diseases and being farthingless. The state which does not arrange for the minimum solvency of these people, is cruel and without any principle. But works of these people are essential that without it a state cannot run for a year even. Poverty, disease without medical treatment, poor income and physical inability are the worst insults towards humanity. Save yourself from the attack of poverty. Because the curse of poverty makes a man disbelieve in God. Downfall comes for financial crisis and poverty. The leading cause of downfall is negligence of ideology and morals. Because life of human being is dependent on earning. Man becomes low and poor intentionally. Only patience and diligence is required to get rid of it. Use your physical as well as mental strength. Nowadays, it is very easy to end up your money for the consumer goods. Due to a weak patience, a man's money is spent in an easy but fruitless way. This is the main reason for economical war and poverty. We center our thought towards loan to get what we want. But don't think over-earning. This bad habit has swallowed us individually and as a nation. Physical labor brings money, but theoretical income and expenditure bring poverty. Everybody of us should find out the way of earning our bread. Hunger peeps at the home of a professional man but does not dare to enter. Everybody has the right to run his livelihood through work. The amount of wealth required to run the livelihood is the limit of right of a person. Man depends on labor. By labor and work only poverty can be eliminated. Dependability on others can be removed and change of luck becomes possible. In the wealth of the rich men, there is no power to eliminate the poverty of common people. The power is within the common people. Before paying the notice to all aspects, it is necessary for a human being to pay attention on the basic necessities. Either everyone will acquire our rights or sacrifice our blood. Think about our poor life, but with the majority of our labor a small section has been greatly developed. We are the victims, we are powerless, because we are not holding hands together. He who only escapes himself or herself dies being trapped by over-escapism. Through breaking the faith of others and making destitute someone becomes rich, taking the opportunity of inability making others poor. There are many ways to turn anyone a hardcore poor overnight. In many cases, elderly citizens become more helpless and are left unattended due to changes in family norms and traditions. Poverty teaches men meanness and affluence teaches desire and addiction. Poverty turns men to thief, fraud, gambler, indifferent, liar, obstinate, dogmatic. On the other hand, affluence makes men lazy, prude, affectionless, traitor, self-possessive and self-preacher. But during at a critical time, poor and rich become one, and comparatively the poor proves their quality superior to the rich in life-sacrificing. Poverty is a fatal disease. It breaks mind, narrows down the outlook, spoils the hopes and aspiration, makes fail to take reasonable decision. Creation of new assets with local resource utilization and its smooth distribution is a special strategy for poverty reduction. To do that, effective participation that persuades the local people to search the root cause of the problem and the solution to resolve that. For this, the objective verification and judgment of the events are necessary. The background of the poverty of the family, history, process and how the poverty had been created and got increased are to be known. What measures should be taken? It is necessary to know the information of family income, expenditure, causes of failure to meet the expenses of the daily necessity, assets and loan, activities to reduce poverty and poverty. Economic reason is the main reason behind all change, to enrich the society physically and economically. Controlling of population is essential. Savings and commercial condition, that is the right and exploitation system of the human being, is increasing rapidly along with the population explosion. The cure of this wound is not possible by the old system. That is also not possible only through increasing of production and fulfilling the deficiency. In the consideration of the socio-economic, political condition, the contemporary crisis should be overcome. On it, the state condition, religious condition and society remain stable. At first, instant assistance at the enterprise of the firm program that is based on social consciousness. Later, through market system, it is possible to resolve all problems of poverty. For this, each able member of every family has to undertake the responsibility of meeting the demand. The origin and problem of poverty is alike everywhere. Poverty is not creation of the poor, but the rules, structure and principles of the society lay at this root. Own resources and proper management solve the problem of poverty. The cause and nature of poverty is different, like financial, mental, moral, social, cultural poverty. In many cases, the non-financial causes of poverty are more aching and tormenting and inhumane. In case of failure to identify the interrelation among personal, familial, social poverty, many aspects and level of poverty remain unexposed. It is needed to determine the overall poverty through searching personal poverty. Moreover, it is necessary to identify where and to what extent cavity or blank space remains among the local people personally or collectively regarding necessary assets, skill, education or probability necessary for poverty reduction. Poverty is the result of the soundness of man in the field of financial, social, political, physical, moral and cultural arena. Poverty is not any financial state, rather a financial condition created out of poverty. Socio-economic change of person depends on the change of inner awareness of the person. The basic causes of poverty remain within the poverty-stricken people, that is only the expression of the state. Poverty arises from personal or self-defects. The reasons of poverty remain within itself and mainly local. So, the work of solution should be initiated from the local society. as persons remained impugned in moral, psychological and cultural poverty, the socio-economic poverty is created. So initiative at first should be taken for increasing inner capacity of individual. If awareness is arisen along with this power, then the person would be able to come out of poverty by himself. Various types of non-financial poverty enhances financial poverty. Getting injustice instead of justice, money and time are wasted as huge loss. If there is lack of uniformity between family and society, another opinion is disregards of other opinion, respectless condition, financial condition gets deteriorated. This needs uniformity of opinion, willingness for discuss the problem and solution. Not financial poverty, the lack of consciousness is the great poverty. But nobody seems to have any consciousness about that. The poor has no plan in any work. In all area of financial, familial and social life they are indifferent. That means sudden and then is the principle. That is another reason for poverty. Immature loss or physical illness of father, mother or spouse, physical illness, losing parts of body, laziness, chaos in family, having many children, previous poverty, falling prey to poverty, getting involved in cases, being deceived, natural disaster, having no work all the time, getting married in poor family, etc. are the causes of poverty. Without taking endeavor to resolve the problems inside the family and society, all efforts to remove poverty will fall in vain. A day laborer cannot maintain his daily expenditure with his daily wages, as such he can't think of savings at all. It is the creation of ability only, not handing over of income, can change a poor man's life. Those who are too much practical can attain solvency but not peace always. Financial solvency begets friends but not love. You should live like a poor till you earn much more than your requirement. It is harder to save money by curtail expenditure than to earn. One can become rich by collecting gold from a gold rain, but he cannot spend it well if he does not have a good taste and well experience. A man should not spend all he earns. Those who save in time, do not fall in financial crisis. He who does not utilize his bullock, falls in great distress. His cornfields remain barren and he falls into want of food and clothes. He who fully depends on others' works, cannot expect for benefit at all. It is better to work father and son together. Otherwise, brother's help can be bought. Other persons will not work sincerely. He who works himself side by side with his workers, gets a good result. He who gets his work done by others but supervises himself, gets half of the benefit. And he who neither works himself nor supervises the work, should not expect any benefit at all. Because nobody works for others sincerely. As such, its result is also not up to expectation. Nobody will work for others as the man's son will do. But if all the brothers work together, the result will be excellent. His life is in vain, who is an illiterate, he is alone, who has no friend, the home is lonely, where there is no child, and a poor man is totally a zero. Profession under somebody, living without a permanent shelter, to take up some job in a farthingless condition and overall poverty, are troublesome. There is no helplessness than subjugation and bankruptcy. One should fulfill his demand, up to a certain limit to maintain social peace. But the fulfillment should not go to such extent that others cannot fulfill their demands at all. Rich people indebted, middle-class people live in illusions and poor people starve, because wealth is divided only, not multiplied.